why 23-year-old Egypt Carter was killed, but today investigators say two men were paid to end her life.
I heard something in my house. I'm scared. Someone's in my house and I heard like loud popping noise. I'm just me alone and I have to leave.
Murder for hire, a phrase that evokes fear, dread, and disbelief. It's the kind of crime we read about in books or see in movies, but rarely imagine happening in our communities. In this episode of Urban Crime Stories, we will unravel 3 murder-for-hire stories that you never heard of. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Number 1. The heartbreaking story of Egypt Carter. On a chilly February morning, the peaceful town of Woodbridge, Virginia was shattered by the sound of gunfire. Egypt Carter, a 23-year-old woman with a promising future, was found slumped in her parked car, her life tragically cut short. Nearby, a small dog sat unharmed, a silent witness to the horror. What initially appeared to be a random act of violence soon unraveled into a chilling murder-for-hire plot masterminded by none other than her incarcerated husband. The revelation of this sinister plan sent shockwaves through the community. Egypt, a former senior class president and scholarship recipient, had graduated college in just 3 years and was running her own small business. Her family and friends were left grappling with the devastating loss, struggling to comprehend how someone so full of life could meet such a tragic end. The case took an even darker turn as investigators uncovered the calculated steps leading to her murder, orchestrated from behind prison walls. Neighbors still haunted by the events of that night recall the eerie scene. "It's awful. People do anything for money," one neighbor lamented. Another recounted seeing the flashing lights of police cars and ambulances as she left for work. The community's sorrow was palpable, underscored by a stark warning. Women have to be careful. You really have to be careful. The story began to take shape when Egypt's body was discovered at 2:07 a.m. on February 2nd, parked outside the Orchard Mills apartments. She had been shot multiple times, and though her dog survived unscathed, Egypt's life had been mercilessly taken. Initial investigations revealed that Egypt had been lured to the location under the pretense of picking up prescription narcotics for her husband, Lionel Carter III. Instead, she walked into an ambush. Lionel Carter, a man with a violent past, was already serving time for the murder of his ex-girlfriend Khadijah Stewart, whom he had killed in 2014. From his prison cell, he allegedly devised a plan to eliminate Egypt after she expressed her desire to leave him. Court documents revealed that Lionel reached out to another inmate to orchestrate the murder, enlisting several accomplices, including Drew Buchanan, Denzel Wade, and Garethus McKinnon. The investigation uncovered the chilling details of the plot. Buchanan and Wade were believed to have carried out the ambush on Lionel's orders. Charging documents stated that a witness overheard Buchanan planning the murder mere hours before it occurred. Buchanan was apprehended shortly after the crime, found near the scene. Wade, suspected of being with Buchanan during the shooting, was later arrested at a home in Prince William County. Further evidence pointed to McKinnon's involvement in coordinating the hit. All 4 men, including Lionel Carter, faced charges of aggravated murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. Detectives pieced together the timeline of events, painting a harrowing picture of betrayal and greed. Egypt's only mistake was trusting someone who was supposed to love and protect her. Lieutenant Jonathan Perrock of the Prince William County Police described the case as highly unusual, noting that the lack of robbery or disturbance at the crime scene quickly pointed to a targeted attack. "Thankfully, the person in custody is our shooter," he said. "This was not a random act." As the investigation continues, Egypt's family holds on to the memories of her vibrant spirit. Her mother described her as someone who could illuminate a room, while her father recalled the fateful night she told him she was heading to Woodbridge. He had urged her to stay home, a plea that would haunt him forever. Today, the suspects remain in custody, awaiting trial for their roles in this heinous crime. Authorities continue to pursue leads, urging anyone with information to come forward. Meanwhile, the community mourns the loss of a young woman whose life was brimming with potential. Egypt's story is a tragic reminder of the dangers of toxic relationships and the lengths some will go to exert control. As her family seeks justice, they hope her legacy will serve as a beacon, encouraging others to recognize the warning signs and seek help before it's too late. Number 2. The tragic story of Daniel Markel. On the morning of July 18, 2014, the peaceful city of Tallahassee, Florida, was shattered by the execution-style murder of Daniel Markel, a distinguished legal scholar and devoted father. The investigation revealed a chilling conspiracy, uncovering a tangled web of betrayal involving his ex-wife's family, a hired hitman, and an intermediary caught between two worlds. What began as a custody battle devolved into a shocking murder-for-hire plot, exposing secrets that stunned a nation and ultimately brought justice to a grieving family. Catherine Magbanua, a 38-year-old American-Filipino woman, was born in 1987. Her early life was marked by significant challenges, growing up in a tough environment that shaped her resilience and character. Despite her struggles, Catherine went on to have 2 children with her former boyfriend, Sigfredo Garcia. The relationship between Catherine and Sigfredo, while central to her life, would later draw her into a complex and tragic web of events involving one of Florida's most shocking crimes. Daniel Eric Markel, born on October 9, 1972, was a well-respected legal scholar and a prominent figure in the field of criminal justice. Markel's career was marked by academic excellence, and he was widely known for his influential work. In February 2006, he married Wendy Jill Adelson, and together they started a family. They welcomed 2 sons, the first born in 2009 and the second in 2010. However, despite their promising start, the marriage began to falter, leading to a turbulent separation. By 2012, Daniel and Wendy's relationship had reached a breaking point, resulting in their formal separation. The following year, their divorce was finalized, but it was far from amicable. The custody of their 2 young sons became a particularly contentious issue. Wendy sought to move with the children to Miami, but Daniel opposed the move. Ultimately, the court barred Wendy from relocating, ensuring that both parents would retain equal 50-50 custody. This decision deepened the animosity between the former couple and left unresolved tensions that would later have devastating consequences. On the morning of July 18, 2014, Daniel Markel, the distinguished criminal justice scholar, was found fatally shot in his own garage. Markel had been struck twice in the head, execution style, leaving the community stunned and horrified. The violent act, carried out in a typically peaceful suburban neighborhood, seemed chillingly calculated and raised immediate questions about who could have orchestrated such a cold-blooded killing. On May 26, 2016, Sigfredo Garcia, a 34-year-old resident of Miami Beach, was arrested on charges of first-degree murder. The arrest followed the issuance of a warrant by a Leon County judge, marking a significant breakthrough in the investigation into Daniel Markel's death. Authorities had come to believe that the killing was not a random act of violence, but a carefully orchestrated murder for hire. This theory placed Garcia and another suspect, Luis Rivera, at the center of a chilling conspiracy. Investigators determined that Garcia and River had traveled from Miami to Tallahassee in a rented Toyota Prius in the days leading up to the murder. Surveillance footage and other evidence indicated that the pair stayed in motels on July 16th and 17th, finalizing their plans before executing the crime on the morning of July 18th. The calculated nature of their actions, right down to the choice of a rented vehicle and temporary lodging, underscored the premeditation involved in the killing. Further probing revealed that Markel's death was not an isolated act of violence, but rather a contract killing with roots in a bitter family dispute. The investigation pointed to Charlie Adelson, the brother of Markel's ex-wife Wendy Adelson, and Donna Adelson, their mother, as key figures in orchestrating the crime. The motive, investigators concluded, stemmed from the Adelson family's desire to allow Wendy to move to Miami with her 2 young children, a move that had been barred by the courts during the divorce proceedings. Catherine Magbanua, who was romantically linked to Charlie Adelson and had 2 children with Sigfredo Garcia, emerged as a critical figure in the case. She was alleged to have acted as the intermediary between the Adelson family and the hired killers, facilitating the connection that ultimately led to Markel's death. Magbanua's dual ties to the Adelsons and Garcia placed her at the heart of the conspiracy, a role that investigators claimed was pivotal in executing the plan. Investigators alleged that neither Luis Rivera nor Sigfredo Garcia had any personal connection to Daniel Markel, further supporting the theory that the murder was a contract killing. They contended that Charlie Adelson, the brother of Markel's ex-wife Wendy Adelson, had a personal relationship with Catherine Magbanua, which became a key factor in linking the Adelson family to the hired killers. Investigators also discovered that Magbanua received a significant amount of money from the Adelson family following the murder. Adding to the evidence, phone records revealed that Magbanua was the first person Garcia called immediately after Markel was killed. Both Charlie and Donna Adelson were known to harbor strong dislike toward Markel, which investigators believed provided the primary motive for the crime. On June 17, 2016, a grand jury in Leon County indicted Garcia and Rivera on charges of first-degree murder in connection with Markel's killing. By this time, Rivera was already incarcerated, serving a sentence for federal racketeering conspiracy charges tied to his leadership of the North Miami Group, a known criminal organization. His criminal background lent credence to the theory that he and Garcia were recruited specifically to carry out the murder-for-hire plot. The indictment marked a significant step forward in the case, solidifying the prosecution's belief that the crime was meticulously premeditated. As the case progressed, prosecutors submitted extensive documentation to the court to support their claims. This evidence included a detailed account of Rivera and Garcia's movements, such as their first trip to Tallahassee from June 4th to June 6, 2014, which appeared to be a reconnaissance mission. Cell phone and GPS records were painstakingly analyzed, placing both men near Markel's residence during their trips. The level of detail in these records provided crucial evidence tying the suspects to the crime scene and reinforced the prosecution's argument of a coordinated plan. On October 1st, 2016, the investigation took another significant turn when Catherine Magbanua was arrested and charged with murder. Her arrest was seen as a critical development, as she was allegedly the central link between the Adelson family and the hitmen. Magbanua's involvement, combined with her connections to both Charlie Adelson and Sigfredo Garcia, positioned her as a key figure in the case and added another layer to the unfolding narrative of betrayal and conspiracy. Luis Rivera, in his testimony, claimed that Sigfredo Garcia had recruited him to participate in the killing of Daniel Markel. Rivera identified Catherine Magbanua as the woman in the middle, facilitating communication and orchestrating the arrangements between the individuals involved. According to Rivera, he was unaware of the names of those who had hired Garcia and Magbanua, but understood the motive behind the crime. He stated that the killing was ordered because the lady wants her 2 kids back. She wants full custody of the kids. This pointed directly to the ongoing custody battle between Wendy Adelson and Markel as the driving force behind the murder. The trials for Catherine Magbanua and Sigfredo Garcia were combined and commenced in October 2019, years after the murder. The prosecution laid out a damning case against the 2 defendants, painting a picture of a calculated murder-for-hire scheme. They argued that Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, had orchestrated the killing, allegedly arranging to pay $100,000 to Magbanua, Rivera, and Garcia to carry out the murder. The prosecution claimed that the goal was to eliminate Markel, thereby allowing Wendy to gain full custody of their 2 sons without interference from the court. Throughout the trial, the Adelson family adamantly denied any involvement in the crime. Their defense pointed to the lack of direct evidence tying them to the murder, despite the prosecution's claims about their alleged motive and financial transactions. However, prosecutors argued that Magbanua's financial records and her close relationships with both Charlie Adelson and Sigfredo Garcia were significant indicators of her role in the conspiracy. In court, Rivera's testimony became a pivotal piece of the prosecution's case. He described in detail how the plot was carried out, including the roles each participant played. Rivera reiterated that Magbanua was the intermediary, coordinating with the Adelsons and overseeing logistics with Garcia. The $100,000 payment was highlighted as a central piece of evidence, suggesting a clear financial motive behind the killing. Rivera's testimony, combined with phone records, surveillance footage, and other evidence, painted a picture of a well-planned crime executed with chilling precision. At her trial, Catherine Magbanua maintained her innocence, denying any involvement in the murder of Daniel Markel. However, she admitted that the evidence presented by prosecutors led her to believe that Charlie Adelson was involved in orchestrating the killing. This statement marked a significant moment, as it cast doubt on the Adelson family's continued denials. Meanwhile, Sigfredo Garcia, facing the same charges, shifted blame onto Luis Rivera. Garcia claimed that Rivera had acted alone in carrying out the murder, a defense strategy aimed at distancing himself from the crime. Despite the conflicting accounts, the jury delivered its first verdict on October 11, 2019. Sigfredo Garcia was found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy in connection with Markel's 2014 killing. The verdict came as a relief to prosecutors, who had worked tirelessly to piece together the evidence linking Garcia to the crime. Just days later, on October 15th, the court handed Garcia a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the murder charge. Additionally, he received a 30-year sentence for the conspiracy charge, ensuring that he would remain incarcerated for the rest of his life. The trial's outcome for Catherine Magbanua, however, was less decisive. The jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict in her case, resulting in a mistrial. Sources later revealed that the jury vote was 10-2 in favor of conviction, falling short of the unanimity required to secure a guilty verdict. Despite the lack of resolution, Magbanua remained in custody, and her legal battles was far from over. The investigation into Markel's murder continued to evolve, and nearly 3 years after the trials of Garcia and Magbanua, a significant development occurred. On April 21, 2022, Charlie Adelson, Wendy Adelson's brother, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Adelson's arrest marked a major turning point in the case, bringing the spotlight back onto the Adelson family and their alleged involvement in the plot. After several delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, Catherine Magbanua's retrial finally began on May 16, 2022. The trial garnered significant public attention as prosecutors once again laid out their case against her, highlighting her role as the intermediary between the Adelson family and the hitmen. On May 27, 2022, the jury returned its verdict, finding Magbanua guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. The court sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder charge, along with 30 years each for the conspiracy and solicitation charges, reflecting the severity of her crimes. Magbanua's conviction and sentencing marked a major step forward in the case. On November 16, 2022, a formal request was made for Magbanua to be handed over to the Leon County Sheriff so she could be transported to the Leon County State Attorney's Office. There, she would provide a proffer, or an official statement, in connection with the upcoming trial of Charlie Adelson. Prosecutors viewed Magbanua's potential testimony as a key component in their case against Adelson, whose trial was scheduled for October 23, 2023. Charlie Adelson, who had been dating Magbanua at the time of the murder, faced serious charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. His trial began on October 26, 2023, in a Leon County courtroom, just days before his 47th birthday. Prosecutors argued that Adelson had masterminded the murder-for-hire plot, motivated by a desire to help his sister, Wendy Adelson, gain full custody of her children and distance them from Daniel Markel. The case against him drew on years of evidence, including wiretapped conversations, financial transactions, and testimony from co-conspirators. After a tense and highly publicized trial, the jury reached its verdict on November 6, 2023. Charlie Adelson was found guilty on all charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation of first-degree murder. The verdict was a significant victory for prosecutors and a moment of vindication for Markel's family, who had long awaited justice for his untimely death. On December 12, 2023, Adelson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder conviction. In addition, the court imposed 30-year sentences for the conspiracy and solicitation charges, ensuring that Adelson would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Just before Charlie Adelson was sentenced to prison, Donna Adelson, Daniel Markel's former mother-in-law, was apprehended at Miami International Airport. Authorities revealed that she was attempting to board a flight to Vietnam, a nation without an extradition treaty with the United States. Her arrest came as a shock, but also as a critical development in the years-long investigation into Markel's murder. Donna Adelson was charged with the same charges her son Charlie Adelson had been convicted of. Prosecutors alleged that Donna Adelson had played a pivotal role in the murder-for-hire plot, motivated by a desire to see her daughter, Wendy Adelson, gain full custody of her two sons. The evidence against her included communications with other conspirators, financial transactions tied to the crime, and statements that pointed to her long-standing animosity toward Markel. Her arrest reignited public interest in the case, as many had speculated for years about her potential involvement. Donna Adelson's trial was originally scheduled to begin on September 17, 2024, in Leon County. However, proceedings were unexpectedly delayed when her defense attorney withdrew from the case on the very first day of jury selection. The withdrawal of her attorney introduced a significant complication, as it forced the court to reschedule the trial. At the time, no new date had been set, but legal experts anticipated that the trial would take place sometime in 2025, extending the timeline of the case even further. Number 3. The tragic story of Omar Murray. On a quiet morning in February 2013, the Brownsville neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York erupted into chaos. A loving father of 4, Omar Murray, steps out to pick up groceries, a simple errand that ends in tragedy. Moments later, he is brutally attacked and left for dead just outside his home. The neighborhood reels in shock, but the horror doesn't end with his death. Behind this murder lies a story of betrayal, suspicion, and the chilling possibility of a deadly conspiracy. The aftermath of Omar's death plunged Brownsville into turmoil. As news of the crime spread, the community demanded justice. The police swiftly arrested Kirk Porteous and Damian Lovell. They were charged with first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. Yet the case quickly spiraled into something much more sinister. Rumors swirled about a shadowy connection between the killers and Omar's wife, Alicia Noel Murray. Was she merely a grieving widow? Or did she play a role in her husband's death? The courtroom became a stage for a drama that gripped not only Brownsville, but the entire city. Tensions soared as testimonies painted conflicting pictures of Alicia's involvement. Her every word was dissected, her motives questioned, and her actions scrutinized. And amidst this, a chilling discovery emerged. Life insurance policies totaling nearly $700,000. Policies that would benefit only Alicia in the wake of Omar's untimely death. On the morning of the murder, Omar had gone to the store to buy breakfast for Alicia and their young daughter. As he returned home, he was ambushed. Shots rang out, shattering the calm. Alicia, trapped inside with their child, frantically dialed 911. By the time help arrived, it was too late. Omar lay lifeless on the ground, a loving father and husband taken too soon. But as investigators delved deeper, troubling inconsistencies emerged. Months before his death, Alicia had reportedly taken out a hefty life insurance policy on Omar. Friends and neighbors whispered of tension in the marriage. Then, the bombshell. Allegations that Alicia and Damian Lovell, one of the accused, were romantically involved. Was this a crime of passion or a calculated scheme? When Metropolitan Life Insurance Company refused to release a $150,000 payout, citing suspicions of foul play, Alicia's world began to crumble. Her grief turned to frustration as she faced mounting legal battles and unrelenting scrutiny from law enforcement. Each revelation added fuel to the fire, painting a picture of a woman ensnared in a web of lies and intrigue. 2 years later, Brownsville's simmering suspicions exploded. Alicia Noel Murray had remarried, this time to Jose Abreu. But in a stunning twist, she took out a life insurance policy on her new husband. The eerie parallel to Omar's case reignited public outrage and thrust her back into the spotlight. Whispers of another plot began to circulate. Was Alicia a grieving widow seeking solace in a new marriage, Or was she repeating a deadly pattern? During the trial, the prosecution painted Alicia as a cunning manipulator, orchestrating her husband's murder to cash in on the insurance policies. They alleged that she had hired the 3 men to kill Omar, with Lovell acting as the middleman. Witnesses testified to suspicious meetings and financial transactions. Prosecutors unveiled chilling text messages that hinted at premeditation, but Alicia's defense argued otherwise. They portrayed her as a victim of circumstance, a woman trapped in a nightmare of assumptions and accusations. Her grief, they claimed, was genuine. Her love for Omar, undeniable. The life insurance policies, standard precautions for a family trying to secure their future. The alleged affair, baseless gossip designed to tarnish her name. In the courtroom, emotions ran high. The jury listened intently as both sides presented their cases. Outside, Brownsville residents debated fiercely. Was Alicia guilty of orchestrating the murder of not 1 but 2 husbands? Or was she the target of a community's desperate need to assign blame? In the end, the jury found Alicia Noel Murray guilty of masterminding Omar's murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her conviction brought a semblance of closure to a community haunted by unanswered questions. But for many, the case left a lingering sense of unease. Brownsville's wounds were far from healed. Omar's children, now fatherless, bore the brunt of the tragedy. The neighborhood grappled with the unsettling reality that betrayal could lurk so close to home. Alicia's story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dark complexities of human relationships and the devastating consequences of greed. Even today, Omar's murder casts a shadow over Brownsville. It's a story that defies easy explanations, leaving behind a community forever changed and a family struggling to piece their lives back together. The search for truth, justice, and healing continues, even as the echoes of that fateful February morning linger in the air. What are your thoughts about these tragic stories? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you on Urban Crime Stories.